was your idea for today? Have some questions,
Yes.
hopefully some answers.
Frequently asked questions that we get very regularly. I think our number one question, would you agree?
Yes. Are there any updates?
Yeah, we have so many people asking us, what's the update? Are there any updates? Basically, there is going to be no updates until there is an approval. So there's never an update saying, hey, you have this many months left on the portal that we have. It has like an estimate for how many months, but we're told that it's super inaccurate. So yeah, there will be an update once the approval has like gone through. So
Yeah, the only updates that we've received were we've received your application and we've actively been reviewing it, which that notification was January 6th of 2024 and hasn't been any changes since then.
yesterday it was 400 days ago. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a long waiting process. And um, yeah, I think a lot of people in our lives like can see how long the process is, and I think that's why it's such a common question is like, are there any updates? And unfortunately, like, yeah, there are no updates other than we're still waiting.
Question number 2, how long is the process? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but average wait times, I mean, it's kind of fluctuated from when we started till now, but
Yeah.
I think recent numbers that we've seen for our current visa petition to be about 11 to 14, 15 months, something like that. And we're at 13 now, and that's just for um, this current stage in the whole process. The actual process of getting you into the States will be longer than that too. Because once we hear back for the approval of our I-130, then we go on to the next stage, which involves an in-person interview for you at the U.S. consulate in Montreal. But prior to getting an interview date for that, there's some more supplementary information we have to submit to them.
The estimate is just based on like past times. And so it looks like a lot of people who are getting approved now have waited about 16 months. So the process is taking a little bit longer than what the estimate was when we applied. So we're just hanging in there.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I guess just from seeing other people's timelines too, for that sort of interview stage, um, that's usually another 3 to 6-ish months. But
Yes, after the approval.
after
So
this approval that we're kind of waiting on right now, we're definitely hoping by the end of 2025 for you to be like fully moved down in Fargo.
yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. A lot of things can happen or change between now and then.
Next question.
How often do you see each other?
Yeah, so essentially we see each other every second weekend, which we're so blessed and lucky that we get to have that much time off with our jobs. Respectively, I get every second weekend off with my job, and you're able to get that time off too. So thankfully for shift work, it works out. So by the time a visit ends, usually we have like 7 to 10 days apart. And then our visits are usually like 3 to 5 days long. Hey,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's what we've been doing, honestly, ever since we met,
Mm-hmm.
mostly.
And we usually alternate visits for who's going where. Like we'll do a Winnipeg visit, then a
Mm-hmm.
Fargo visit, just to kind of decrease the burden of driving, I guess,
Yeah.
and just so that we can stay connected with each other's families, friends, whatnot.
Yeah.
Kind of nice to split the time between the two, because quite frequently in that off time when we're not seeing each other, it's just like very busy work stretches, and I don't know, lots of days back to back and just kind of grinding through it and then trying to get to those days off of seeing each other. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that kind of looks like. But average like 10 days usually in between seeing each other. I think our longest stretch apart was actually right after getting married, which
Yes,
was like
3 weeks,
three and a half
three,
weeks or something like that.
and I don't quite remember why that happened. I think it was because I had to take off extra time for our wedding,
Yeah.
and so I had to shift a bunch of shifts around. Last year in January too, we had a long stretch apart where we missed a visit.
Yeah, that was
Ooh,
due to COVID.
yeah, COVID
That was
and a weather advisory.
yeah,
Yeah, both.
yeah.
So yeah. So as for long distance, I feel like we're almost kind of more medium distance. Like we don't go a ton of time apart,
Yeah.
considering, and we don't have a super long drive. So it's about a 3.5, 3 hour, 45-minute drive to see each other, and then add on any like time at the border, which is usually pretty short. We've had
Hmm.
some exceptions, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. The only other caveat with that is winter weather.
yeah,
And I feel like every winter we've had a couple times where weather has, I don't know, has gotten in the way of things. Either we've canceled a visit, delayed one, or driven when we shouldn't have, and
yeah,
really increased that driving time. But
yeah. Well, next question. How do you balance the time between friends, family, and each other? And I think considering like our visits are only like a couple to a few days long, it's nice to kind of get a little bit of everything with each visit. Seeing each other's families feels important for each visit, and I feel like most visits we're able to get that in. Um, and I don't know, when we have a very busy visit together, when we've got lots of stuff planned with family and friends, sometimes we look back and we go, okay, we barely saw each other. So there's a fine balance between trying to like actually spend time together, just us, and then also doing other things.
mm-hmm.
I don't know
And
if
kind
that
of
makes
back to
sense.
that work point too, like when our time apart is like very much shoulder to the plow, like grinding out work. When we are together, a lot of times we're just kind of exhausted from our previous work weeks. And so
Yeah.
there's definitely like a rest component that, I don't know, we need to embrace. And yeah, it is difficult finding that balance between us time, family time, friend time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like definitely the first day of our visit, we're both just so content to very much relax and slow down. The energy it takes to like travel to see the other person is also kind of like an energy burden, like
Mm-hmm.
living out of a suitcase, packing up, unpacking once a month. I remember there's been multiple points in the last year where we have asked ourselves like, why are we so tired? And then it's like we're reminded like, oh yeah, we're traveling each of us once a month to see each other, and you know, kind of disrupting our routine from kind of leaving our own space to the other person's space, to then yeah, the other person who's not traveling is then kind of hosting the other person. And even though we're married, like yeah, there's just that extra person that's coming into your space who's not usually there on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, we're excited for this wait to be over so that we can have more of a stable routine and less traveling back and forth. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely that component, like you said, of just kind of that recognition or respect of like, okay, we know, like, I feel like the easiest example of, oh, say I'm the one who drove up here, so if we're driving around Winnipeg, we'll take your car.
Mm-hmm.
Or if
Yeah.
you drove all the way to Fargo, we'll take my car for doing everything. Just like little things like that to, I
Yeah.
don't know, kind of take some of the, I don't know, those daily tasks and make them easier on the person who's visiting. Because, yeah,
Yeah. Moving on.
sorry,
Next
my phone
question.
keeps locking.
That's okay. Um,
Why can't you just move there already?
yes. I wish it was that simple. I wish I could just move there, but legality reasons, there is a specific amount of time that Canadians and Americans can visit the other country. And from our understanding, um, it's, up to 6 months in a year. We're nowhere near that, but I have to be in Canada more than I am in the States.
Everyone always assumes like, oh, they're a physically close. Um, yeah, they are very different countries, and so then there's different legal requirements for what you need to do to actually be legal and registered, and we want to make sure that we do it the right way so that we don't run into any issues later. And like, yeah, I mean, being able to go back and forth and hold a job are obviously very important, um, like both for just visiting your family and friends, um, and you career wise.
It's one of those things that you don't really know the rules around it until you actually look into it. Um, we had no idea really what visa was going to work for us, like I've mentioned in a previous video. But yeah, so it's so understandable why people have these like kinds of questions, and it's questions that we get all the time. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to answer them here for the people.
For the people. In a lot of people's minds, it is the 90-day fiance. Like, oh, if you're engaged or if you're married, then you should instantly become a citizen,
Mm-hmm.
which is not the
It
case.
is not the case.
Um, and yeah, the pathway to citizenship is even more long. So,
Yeah. Yeah, this is just for like the green card that I've applied
green
for.
card or
Yeah.
permanent residency.
So that is our frequently asked questions, the most common asked questions that we could think of. Um,
Any extras you want to add?
oh, pop them in the comments.
No, I was asking you, but yes, YouTube comments.
What other questions?
Um, your favorite United States quirk.
Quirk. I think my favorite word quirk of North Dakota specifically is when people say the word root instead of root, and it comes up all the time. And I just always sit there and I kind of like bite my tongue because I think it's like a funny little accent that is very noticeable for myself.
Oh, those tree roots are choking this other plant, or
Yeah.
my heritage, my roots are actually from such and such a place.
Yeah. Do you think that people in Fargo would notice if someone said roots?
Maybe. I don't know.
Mm.
They wouldn't be like, oh, that person says it weird. Well, I've got some for you guys, I guess.
Mm.
What do you think?
Okay.
So basically, all of the stereotypical Canadian things are true. Maple syrup, for one. If there's ever a sweetener that has to be used in a dish, you will substitute maple syrup.
Yeah.
Um, the love for hockey and ice skating, like the fact that ODR is a very common abbreviation for outdoor rink, like that just shows you how many outdoor hockey rinks there are. I've seen people, crossing the street downtown with a hockey stick and a pair of ice skates, and people skating down the river, all those things. People definitely say A. Not quite as frequently as the media makes it out to seem, but it's
Mm.
definitely present.
Yeah.
Haven't seen a real Canadian Mountie though, in
Not
the
yet.
full garb.
No.
Haven't seen a moose up here.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, one day.
Thought of my little thing I've noticed in the States is I feel like the flags are like the American flags are just a lot like bigger than the Canadian flags you would see just driving down the interstates, like heading into the States. And, as you enter into cities, there's just these like massive American flags that look like I couldn't even measure them. They just look so huge compared to like our our flags here. Very patriotic.
In the words of Creed Bratton, I already won the lottery. I was born in the U.S.A, baby.
Yeah. Well, thank you for tuning in to our frequently asked questions. And that is where we'll end it off.
See ya.